Seasons in the Canadian Football League. 3 times number 62 was an All-Star. Today he is in the Hall of Fame. So too is former teammate John Helton, a 9-time All-Star in 14 CFL seasons. Number 77 was a defender to be feared and a 2-time Shenley Award winner as the CFL's most outstanding player. Roger Nelson was a 4-time Western Conference All-Star. 13 seasons he played with the Edmonton Eskimos. Today, he too is enshrined in Hamilton. Jimmy Simpson, the man they called the Rooster in Hamilton, started his CFL career as a 5-foot 6-inch player. He finished his CFL career as an official and a trainer. And Heck Crichton was the major force behind modernizing the Canadian Rugby Union and intercollegiate rules, and a developer of the Canadian College Bowl. Today, they are all members of the Canadian Football League's Hall of Fame in Hamilton. And today on CTV, we feature the CFL Hall of Fame game. The Hamilton Tiger Cats play host to the Toronto Argonauts. Hamilton, the CFL on CTV. After a dismal start to the '86 season, the Tiger Cats showed they are indeed much improved last week in Vancouver. The Lions were up by 4 midway through the third when the galloping quarterback, Ken Hobart, disdains the pass and charges 4 yards to the end zone. Giving up the third fewest points in the CFL, Hamilton's stingy defense does the rest. They swarm over the BC quarterbacks, and Hamilton assumes first place in the CFL East. But the Toronto Argonauts respond to the challenge as they play host to the Ottawa Rough Riders the next day. It was a game in which their much-maligned offense came back to life. Tim Cowan plays the first half, fires to a diving Ken Joyner. The Argonauts roll up 526 yards in net offense. 35 here in the fourth quarter. J.C. Watts to Chris Woods. And a 4-game Toronto skid comes to an end, 35-21. What the Argonauts don't have to worry about losing is the Ballard Cup, which goes to the winner of the season series between Toronto and Hamilton. The Argonauts won both previous meetings this year. What they do have to worry about losing, again, is first place in the East. The Ticats nipping at their heels, Toronto's record 8-7, Hamilton 7-8-1. And so this afternoon at Ivor Wynne, it is a playoff preview, the Toronto Argonauts and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Weather conditions here in Hamilton, it is overcast today. There's the chance of a shower, 12 degrees Celsius the temperature. There is a brisk wind out of the east. Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the CFL on CTV. We are expecting a very interesting contest this afternoon because under the new playoff format, these two teams are destined to meet in postseason play. So both coaches will want to send a message to the other bench, set the tone for the series to come. And, of course, it's Hamilton and Toronto. They don't like each other very much. First place is on the line. We expect a lot of intensity on the field this afternoon. Now let's go upstairs to Pat Marsden with Leif Pedersen.
Thank you, Dan. Hello again, everybody. You know, Leif, I think back to the 60s and 70s when I used to come into this park. There was so much atmosphere, so much intensity, and I feel that today. It hasn't been prevalent in the last number of years, but today the fans are sitting in the stands. The football players, particularly those from Hamilton, are ready. I think at this moment Hamilton is the best club in the East.
Well, Pat, I couldn't agree with you more. It's great to see the enthusiasm here at Ivor Wynne Stadium. And, you know, if you're a gambling man, the thing you look at late in the season or in a playoff game, and this is like a playoff game, is you go with the good defense. And there's no question Hamilton's is far better than Toronto's. They're fourth in sacks. They lead the league in interceptions. And those are the kind of things at this time of the year that can make the big difference.
Well, it's going to be a terrific football game and a very physical one. We're going to watch a lot of matchups today that I know you at home will enjoy. But right now, let's go back to Dan Matheson.
Well, one final comment, Pat, with these two teams destined to meet in the playoffs, the coaches certainly have a couple of luxuries today. They can rest some wounded if they want to. They can also throw in some new wrinkles. Like we say, ought to be interesting this afternoon. This is the CFL on CTV.
This ESPN event is being brought to you by Michelob, The exceptionally smooth, distinctive taste is why the night belongs to Michelob.
So exceptionally smooth. The night belongs to Michelob.
On November 22nd, at the Las Vegas Hilton, will Mike Tyson's Iron Fists hammer out boxing history? Will Tyson take the WBC crown and be the youngest heavyweight champion of all time? Or will Trevor Berbick finally stop Tyson like he stopped Ali? Berbick or Tyson? Be there when boxing's biggest question is answered. November 22nd at the Las Vegas Hilton, where the historic battles are fought.
Hey, you're eating bran cereal because it's good for you, right? Well, guess what's in it besides bran? Sugar, up to 22 added teaspoons a box. Over a period of time, that can really add up. And up. But Nabisco shredded wheat and bran is different. It's the only leading high-fiber cereal without a grain of added sugar in it. Or even salt. Nabisco shredded wheat and bran. If you're eating bran because it's good for you, why add sugar and salt?
Nabisco. When furniture has layers of ugly paint, use Formby's paint remover. But for old varnish, use Formby's furniture refinisher. An independent lab proved my paint remover is more powerful than other well-known brands, yet it won't raise the grain. Formby's furniture refinisher uses my special method to dissolve the ruined finish and reveal the wood's hidden beauty. So for paint, Formby's paint remover. And for varnish, Formby's furniture refinisher. For great results and guaranteed satisfaction, remember, there's only one Homer Formby.
Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Well, we talked about the atmosphere here at Ivor Wynne Stadium. You're going to feel it throughout the course of this afternoon because these Ticats of 1986 have begun to turn on this city of Hamilton. They like tough football. They like tough football players. And they've got a lot of them this year. Ross Perrier will be the referee for this afternoon's ball game. And there you see the folks who will be working with him as Paul Osbaldiston will kick it off for the Hamilton Ticats. And the Toronto Argonauts, who have not been playing well of late, know that they better get their act together in a hurry because the fans in Toronto are getting turned off at the same time that fans in Hamilton are getting turned on. Ken Joyner, number 80, and number 74, Darrell Smith, are deep for the Argonauts as Osbaldiston gets it down to the 15-yard line, and this is Joyner. Joyner is tripped up as he crosses the 35 to the 37-yard line. And so that's where Condredge Holloway and the Toronto Argonaut offense will put the ball into play. Holloway has completed 56% of his passes this year, 14 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. You'll notice that William Miller gets the start in place of the injured Cedric Minter at the running back spot for Toronto this afternoon. So it is first down Argos. They have spotted the ball at the 37. Holloway quickly to Chris Woods. And Woods slips the first tackle and gets to the 45-yard line for a healthy 8 yards before Paul Bennett and Howard Fields, 27 and 16, move across to make the stop.
Well, Chris Woods gets them off to a great start. He's the guy you want to get the ball to. He's the game breaker, and initially on their first series, he picks up 8 yards in the first play. Same receiving core as they had against Ottawa last week. Have a look at big number 64, Chris Schultz. You've heard all about him. He comes from the Dallas Cowboys. He is absolutely huge.
On 2nd and 2, the give is to William Miller. There is a penalty marker down on the field. Now, Miller would have the first down, but we'll have to wait and see. The penalty is against the Argonauts. It's a 5-yard penalty back to the 40, and here's the call.
Illegal procedure, Toronto, no end. 2nd down repeated.
Ross Perrier says that the Toronto Argonauts did not have an end on the line of scrimmage. So it'll be 2nd down, and instead of 2 yards to go, it's 2nd and 7.
Yeah, and that group right there, they've had a fabulous year. 68 sacks, we talked about it. Boy, they'll be coming hard on this play.
Holloway quickly unloads to Joyner. And Joyner gets out to the 50-yard line for a Toronto first down. Pickup was 10 yards. Toronto comes out throwing, and of course that's what you expect from an Argonaut team. And they do so effectively the first couple of times that they put the ball in the air. Ben Zambiasi's had another outstanding season, but I'll tell you, those guys are tough. And that defensive secondary, Leaf, I mean, they're just thieves. They steal that football unbelievably.
Well, they're the leaders in interceptions in the league, and they may have a chance this year to set a new mark.
William Miller tries to get outside, but forget it. The Ticats are really pumped up. Rod Skillman, number 59, was there to bring him down and shut down that corner for him.
You know, we talk about that secondary. They have 41 interceptions, which we mentioned in the opening. Last year, they set the new CFL record with 46. And, of course, this year, with an extra 2 games added onto the schedule, they have 41, so they have a good chance to break that record.
So it's 2nd and 10. There was no gain by William Miller. The ball is at the Toronto 50. Holloway with time throws, but undershoots the intended receiver, Chris Woods. Mike Walker, who has had such a terrific season and leads the CFL in sacks with 20, was there to put the pressure on the Toronto quarterback.
Well, it's no secret. You know, when you're going to get that pressure from your front four, your defensive backs can play up and play a little tighter. That time they bumped all the Toronto receivers. The pass play just took too long to develop, and Holloway finally got pressure on him from Mike Walker. You saw a shot of Hank Olisic. He leads the Canadian Football League 48.8.
Wayne Lee and Paul Bennett are back, and this will be Paul Bennett, the all-time leading punt returner in Canadian Football League history, gets the ball to the 29-yard line before Warren Hudson, number 37, the Toronto fullback, was there to make the stop. A 35-yard boot, a 4-yard return, and in this quarter, Hank Olisic is punting into the wind.
Once again, Mike Kerrigan starts at quarterback for the Ticats, 56% on the year. Thrown 18 interceptions, only 15 touchdowns. That's an area he'd certainly like to improve on.
And they come out throwing. Ken Zachary, the starter at the running back spot today, is there to make the catch and get the ball out over the 35 to about the 37-yard line for a pickup of about 8 yards. Paul Tripoli and Kerry Parker, numbers 28 and 17 respectively, were there to make the stop.
You know, this traditionally was the Achilles heel of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but they've only given up 51 sacks this year, that offensive line. They've done a pretty darn good job.
2nd down and 2, Ticats with Mike Kerrigan at quarterback. And the give is to Zachary. Zachary cut it back close to the first down marker, but he appears to have come up a yard short. Don Moan, number 36, was there to prevent him getting to the 40-yard line. But on 3rd and about a half a yard, the Ticats are going to go for it. We're just underway here at Ivor Wynne Stadium in Hamilton. The biggest crowd of the season on hand to see if their Ticats can leapfrog over the Argos into first place. 3rd down, inches. Kerrigan keeps it himself, and he has the first down. He just followed Jason Riley, Marv Alamang, and Miles to that offensive line, tucked his head in there, and fell forward to about the 41-yard line.
Well, and Washington 270, Miles Gurrell 6'8", 285. Those are the 2 big boys I'd go behind.
That offensive line averages 272 pounds. They stand on an average 6'4". The defensive secondary of the Toronto Argonauts has not performed very well this year. That ball, however, was very nearly picked off by Carl Braisley, and had he done so, Toronto would have had a 6-0 lead.
There's quite a wind swirling around here at Ivor Wynne this afternoon. I believe that ball from Mike Kerrigan just sailed on him, and Carl Braisley had a great shot to come up with the interception. He's really the leader in that secondary. Been in the league, a pro for 7 years, and started off originally with Montreal, went to Ottawa, now with Toronto, but he's the guy that anchors that secondary.
Mike Kerrigan has thrown 15 touchdown passes, but 18 interceptions this year. He fires to Tony Champion. He's got all kinds of speed. Nobody will catch him. Touchdown, Hamilton, 69 yards. Tony Champion. So make that 16 touchdown passes for Mike Kerrigan, who hit Tony Champion, and then it was lights up because nobody was going to catch him.
What a great way to start the ball game off. Tony Champion coming across the middle. The middle safety, Daryl Moyer, was nowhere to be found, and Kerry Parker couldn't stay with him. 69 yards later, the Ticats get off to an early lead.
Paul Osbaldiston is good with the point after. And not surprising, the Hamilton Ticats have put the first points on the board. They lead at 7-0, and we'll be back in just a moment. Well, there's how long it took the Hamilton Ticats to get on the scoreboard. 5 plays. The big one, the 69-yard pass from Kerrigan to Champion at 7-0 Ticats. There's Tony Champion. Came to the Ticats last year from the camp of the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, you see, he just gets into that middle area, pushes off Kerry Parker, and you've got to get some help from the middle safety, and there was no help there, and he's off and running. You know, he only needed 19 yards to get over 1,000 for the season, which is a nice accomplishment. He got it in a hurry with 69 right there on his touchdown.
Darrell Smith and Ken Joyner are back to receive this kickoff. This is Joyner from the 20, and he's out to the 35 already, and doesn't get much further than that, to the 38-yard line.
Pat, an interesting wrinkle on the touchdown. Tony Champion tells us that that wasn't the pass route he was supposed to run. He, in fact, got bumped coming off the line, was forced inside, and Kerrigan must have been pretty sharp to pick him up.
Well, that's exactly how Leaf described it, and that was the result as Tony Champion went all the way for the touchdown. These are Ticats of old, really. Having watched them a number of times this season, they remind me of the Mosca Barrow days. They play defense so well. Holloway sets up the screen to William Miller. And Miller is upset by Les Brown as he gets to about the 47-yard line. So it'll be a good pickup on first down for the Argos, very close to 9 yards.
William Miller, people remember him from Winnipeg days. He had 3 years where he led the club in rushing. In fact, 2 of those years was over 1,000 yards. But this is a matchup that you're going to enjoy watching this afternoon. Chris Schultz against Grover Covington. Grover, one of the better sackers in the Canadian Football League. And Chris Schultz at 6'9", 275 is an excellent pass blocker.
And the Argo coaching staff reminding the officials they use 2 tight ends. They don't want another procedure call here.
This is William Miller. Breaks one right off tackle. Crosses midfield into Hamilton territory at the 52 before Paul Bennett brings him down. An 11-yard explosion by William Miller, the ex-Winnipeg Blue Bomber star who went to the USFL and returned to Canada this year.
When he first came into the league in 1980, he just had some super moves and speed. He was the Shenley Rookie of the Year, and boy, those were some flashes from the past on those last 2 plays to him.
He has been the backup running back all season. First to Craig Ellis and now to Cedric Minter. He gets his chance to play today. And the pass intended for Paul Pearson falls aimlessly to the ground. Howard Fields providing the defensive coverage. Holloway simply overthrew him.
You know, Conrad and I had a chat before the game out in the field, and I said, Connie, I said, what area of the Hamilton defense are you going to try and attack? Because they're a pretty good group. And he said, well, Paul Bennett, number 27 in the middle, is the guy that we think we can get the big play against. He comes up and he bites on those hook patterns, so we're going to try and get some posts to our wide receiver, Ken Joyner, and Chris Woods in behind him.
So on second down from the 52, Holloway in the shotgun looks, throws, and a pass that might well have been caught goes incomplete as Joyner could not squeeze it at the 35-yard line.
Kenny Joyner simply tripped over his feet as he came out of his cut on the in pattern. That was a good throw by Conrad Holloway, but Joyner fell down and couldn't make the catch. Hank Olisic, one of the reasons why the Toronto Argonauts, definitely one of the reasons why they're in first place. His punting all year has kept teams in the hole, and he has a chance to do it here.
So Paul Bennett and Wayne Lee are back to return this punt from Olisic, who is booting it into a wind that is swirling. Oh, but he gets a beauty away. And Bennett will allow it to roll into the end zone. And he finally goes down, concedes the single point, and the Argos hit the scoreboard with 7:26 left to play in the opening quarter. It is Hamilton 7, Toronto 1, and we'll be back in a moment. Hamilton Ticats know that if they win today, they really put the pressure on the Argos to finish first. Now you say, what difference does it make because these two clubs are going to meet in a two-game total point? Well, it's a nice psychological thing, Leaf, and it also, of course, the first place finisher will determine which game he wants, first or second, and normally they take the second.
Yeah, I'd love to have that choice, and don't forget the fact that whoever finishes first gets $1,000 per man, and a lot of those guys would like that loose change.
This is Ken Zachary from Oklahoma State, the running back in that Ticat offense this afternoon, who gets over the 40 to about the 43-yard line. He'll pick up 8 before running into Don Moan. And Marlon Jones, the big defensive end, number 90.
Well, Ken Zachary, he's an interesting story. He's a rookie from Oklahoma State. Now, he tried out in training camp with the Hamilton Tiger Cats this past spring and couldn't make the club. He went to Green Bay of the NFL and played an exhibition game for them, couldn't make them, and came back to Hamilton in August. And here he is starting for them, and they are totally pleased with his play.
And this is Jed Tommy. And Tommy fights his way over the 45 to the 46, which will mean it is a Hamilton first down. And those of you who go back far enough may remember his grandfather. Andy Tommy was a member of the Ottawa Rough Riders when the Rough Riders were such a dominant force in Canadian football back in the late 30s and 40s. So it is first down. Hamilton the ball at their own 46, leading 7-1. Kerrigan looks, throws, and the pass is caught by Steve Stapler, but wrapped up immediately by Carl Braisley for a gain of maybe 4 yards.
But that's a play that's not going to fool Carl Braisley. He's been around. He's one of the most intelligent defensive players in the league, and I played against Carl. Always had a great amount of respect for him. And he'll be able to come up on that little hitch pass. Now, you say maybe they'll run a hitch and go. He'll knock that receiver's, he'll knock him right in the chest if he tries to go around him.
The pickup was 3 yards, so make it 2nd and 7, Ticats. Kerrigan's pass is caught by Rocky DiPietro, and the University of Ottawa graduate gives Hamilton another first down in Toronto territory at the 53. The gain is 8. Paul Tripoli, number 28, was there to make sure he didn't get up and go any further.
Well, let's have a look at the fellow that stands 10th on the all-time CFL receiving list, Rocky DiPietro, in his 9th year out of the University of Ottawa. Well, what can you say about him? He's the all-time Ticat leader in receptions, yardage, everything.
That's his 75th reception of this season. Kerrigan on first down, throws. It is picked off by Carl Braisley. The man that Lee Pedersen was complimenting so much just seconds ago is there to show that all those compliments were deserved, because he makes an outstanding play in virtually taking the ball away from Tony Champion.
Yeah, watch the route that Tony Champion runs. Now, the field's a little wet today, and he just doesn't turn and make a good sharp cut back to the quarterback, and that allows Carl Braisley, who's really a sneaky corner, to get in front, and that's a big turnover. You know, they've been scored upon. Hamilton was driving once again. You've got to try and shift the momentum, even though it's early in the game, and maybe Carl Braisley's done it with that play.
The ball is at the Toronto 50. They trail 7-1. And Holloway is tripped up and sacked by Frank Robinson, number 43. The Ticats, who have just been outstanding in the quarterback sack department. As a matter of fact, that is their 69th of 1986.
And Frank Robinson's 3rd of 1986, and all those linebackers get involved in the blitzing of the quarterback. You saw Ben Zambiazzi in your screen. He's got a couple. Leo Ezrins has a couple. They bring everybody there, and that will be the key this afternoon. They're going to come after Holloway.
It's 2nd and 15 as Holloway drops into the shotgun. And they throw the screen pass to Willie Miller. And he's tripped up back at the line of scrimmage by Leo Esrins, number 72. Well, if you think back to the 60s when they had Barrow and Mosca and guys like that, this was the kind of football they played. They just dominated all aspects defensively, and then it had afforded people like Bernie Filoni and their offensive people the opportunity to put the points on the board.
Well, psychologically, they can really get a team down when you get a break like the interception, and all of a sudden you lose 8 yards on 2 offensive plays. You know, that kind of wears on you after a while.
Paul Bennett takes it at his 30-yard line, and he just wants to make sure that he retains possession, and he does, to the 34-yard line, and that's where the Ticats will put it into play. They lead this ball game 7-1, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Carl Brazeley had the interception against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and his report is that Kerrigan was looking left. He thinks that maybe the intended receiver was on that side of the field, and when Kerrigan's eyes swept to the right side, he just snapped off a very quick throw, and Carl says he was kind of laying in the weeds a little, keeping himself low and out of cover. He doesn't think Kerrigan even saw him.
So I told you, he's sneaky.
4 out of 6 in passing so far for Kerrigan to 4 different receivers, as Ken Zachary, the ball carrier, gets out over the 35 to about the 38. He'll have a pickup of 4, but brought down by Marlon Jones at that point, the big rookie defensive end from Central State in Ohio. Mike Kerrigan, he has really turned this offense around. Kenny Hobart is his backup now, but that was not always the case. But Hobart just is not the passer that Kerrigan is, and because Kerrigan is able to throw the football, the Ticat offense has really opened up in '86. Kerrigan's pass is caught by Stapler, and he will have the first down at the 44.5-yard line. Kerry Parker was the cornerback defending on the play.
See, I like that kind of offense. You know, that's ball control with the passing game, and it's a pretty easy pass to complete. It looked a little tougher because I think the wind got it, but Steve Stapler is a good, solid receiver, good hands. He goes down 5 yards, makes the break to the outside, and you pick up another first down. You keep that ball control and possession going.
Toronto has defeated Hamilton in both previous meetings, but the total in the 2 games was just 3 points. That was the difference, 21-20 and 25-23. Kerrigan's pass is no good. It was intended for Jed Tommy. Paul Tripoli was defending, but they ruled the ball hit the turf. Jed Tommy was an interesting case. He was the Ticats' first-round draft choice a couple of years ago from the University of Guelph, but then he tore up his knee and missed virtually all of last season. Came back this year because they said he just worked so hard in the offseason. He was determined to make the football club and did. And Mike Kerrigan may be a rookie in the CFL, but he's been around the NFL for 3 years, so he knows his way around the field. This pass, again intended for Champion, was well over his head. Closest man to it was Darryl Moyer, the safety, who was coming over to help with Kerry Parker.
Really a bad read by Mike Kerrigan. You know, Toronto tipped their defense before the ball was even snapped. They ran a 4-deep zone with the linebackers going to the weak side. And it's a defense that Kerrigan should recognize quickly, and you're not going to beat it deep. There's no chance.
Paul Osbaldiston. Boy, what a year he's had. Started in BC, went to Winnipeg, came to Hamilton. And he gets his first punt of the afternoon away as Chris Woods allows it to bounce by him and out of bounds at the 21-yard line. That was a 45-yard boot with no return, so that is a terrific plus. But that drives coaches crazy, too, because they hate to see the ball bounce beyond the receiver. Catch the ball in the air.
Especially with a kicker like Paul Osbaldiston that really does not have much of a reputation as a punter. I think you should be standing up around 35 yards. And if he kicks it 10 yards over your head, you know, you're going to have plenty of time to react to the football.
What a job Al Bruno has done. You hear very little about him. But he'll be looking for his 3rd straight Grey Cup appearance as William Miller gets to the 20-yard line and no further, which means that he'll lose a yard on the play. Mitchell Price and Mike Walker and Frank Robinson all there to bring him down.
Well, it was Frank Robinson that really did the job. You know, he's only 200 pounds, and he had to step up and take on big Chris Schultz, who's 285 or whatever, and he stuffed him in the hole, and they made a great play.
So let's call it 2nd and 10. He actually lost about a half a yard. Holloway fires complete to Paul Pearson, and Pearson will have the first down. Boy, but let's give that offensive line of the Argonauts credit on that play. I mean, there was absolutely no penetration, and Holloway was able to wait and wait for Pearson to come open underneath.
Well, he sure did. Chris Schultz once again working on Grover Covington, and he just did a super job on him. That allowed Paul Pearson to come all the way across the field, and that's a tough job for Frank Robinson to stay with him all the way across the field.
13 yards the pickup. First down, Toronto at the 34-yard line, their own. This will be the final play of the first quarter. They swing it out to William Miller, and was he fortunate that he didn't catch the ball, because Leo Ezrins would have knocked him into the cheap seats. It is a 7-1 ball game at the end of the first quarter of play in favor of the Hamilton Ticats. We'll return with the second quarter in a moment. Argonauts have a second down from their 34-yard line as we start this second quarter of play. Argos trailing 7-1. Holloway looking, fires to a wide open Darrell Smith. And Smith gets to midfield and into Hamilton territory at the 54. However, there is a penalty marker back at the line of scrimmage. The pickup was 22 yards. Here's the call.
Offside. Hamilton, number 43, declined. First down.
Frank Robinson was obviously coming on the blitz. He was offside. The penalty is declined. The 22-yard gain will stand.
Well, Holloway did a great job finding an open receiver, and Darrell Smith, who has not caught a great amount of passes, only 26 this year, I think he's going to turn into a pretty good receiver, though.
This is William Miller. He dances outside. A penalty marker is down as Miller gets inside the 40 to the 39-yard line. Miller getting an opportunity to play. He did perform in one game previously against Hamilton this year.
Offside. Hamilton, number 77, declined. First down.
Grover Covington was offside, so the Argos decline the penalty. They take the 15-yard run by William Miller. As you take a look at what happened statistically in that first quarter, total domination by the Ticats, yet they only lead 7-1.
Well, 69 of those offensive yards came on one play. Of course, that long touchdown pass to Tony Champion.
So it is first down Toronto with the ball now at the Hamilton 40. And they blow it dead as Covington unloads on Holloway anyway. He obviously must not have heard the whistle. And Conridge is slow getting up. Of course, there is not a part of Conridge's body that isn't banged up.
You know what he told me today, though? He said, Leaf, he said, this is the best I've felt all year today. He said, physically, the knee's fine, the ribs are good, everything's pretty healthy. But, you know, they got into a terrible matchup that time. Grover Covington on Bob Bronk, and they can't do that.
Time count violation. Toronto, number 7. First down repeated.
So they didn't get the ball in play in time, and it moves it back 5 yards to the 45.
Now, you need that guy, 64, you see in your screen. Chris Schultz on Covington, not a running back.
And running right into the arms of Mitchell Price was William Miller. And I suspect he'll say to Conridge, let's not call that one for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, he was dead in his tracks back of the line of scrimmage at the 47-yard line.
Ooh, look at that hit. Nice square shoulders to the line of scrimmage. Mitchell Price has been with the Ticats for 4 years now. A lot of experience on that defensive line. The fewest is Rod Skillman and Mitchell Price, both at 4 years each.
Second down, 17 yards to go. Holloway from the shotgun looks, fires. And it's deflected, intended for Chris Woods, deflected away by Ben Zambiazzi.
Well, you know, you get in a situation, 2nd and 16, 17 yards, and you know they're going to be throwing. The linebackers like Ezra and Zambiazzi and Robinson, they just turn and get into a deep drop. There's that right in the middle of your screen.
Toronto, number 69, third down.
He reads Holloway's eyes and then reacts to the football, and boy, I thought Ben might be able to make that catch. He's looking for number 85, Chris Woods, on the in, but no chance to get it into him.
And at the same time, the Argos' Dan Ferroni was called for holding. However, it is declined, and Hank Alisic is in to punt. Oh, and he sends a rocket into the end zone. Wayne Lee alertly just allows it to roll right out of bounds, and so the Argos pick up their second point. This is the one area, of course, where Toronto does dominate, and that's the kicking department. So it's a 6-2 ball game. Hamilton leads it. We'll be back in just a moment.
We're at halftime at Ivor Wynne Stadium. The Hamilton Tiger Cats playing host to the Toronto Argonauts. Howard Baker has written in. Howard's from Beaconsfield, Quebec, and he wants to ask the commissioner a question, and here goes. Will the Canadian Football League ever eliminate the 1-point convert after a touchdown, but keep the 2-point convert? Obviously, the question at hand here, Doug Mitchell, is the 1 point's almost a given. Almost half the season went by this year before one was missed, and that wasn't even by a full-time kicker. So is the 1 point a given, so let's get rid of it.
Well, it's kind of interesting, you know, Dan. I must admit that I've had a tremendous amount of mail this year from people suggesting that it's too automatic. It becomes a part of the game that people don't watch because they know it's going to happen, and perhaps it is time to address it. It's another one of those really traditional parts of the game that's been there for a long, long time, and probably a lot of people would oppose it. But I am surprised by the amount of mail and the conversation that I do get about eliminating it.
Why are converts missed so seldom in this league, and there are so many more missed in the National Football?
I don't know. I guess we're just so much more professional at doing it.
Or maybe it's the football. How would you like to win a Spalding J5V, the official CFL football? Well, that's your reward if your question is picked by the CFL, and we ask the commissioner here on CTV telecast. Here is the address to which you can write, Bay Street in Toronto.
I would also think that being a yard off the ball would have something to do with it. However, if you want to ask the commissioner something, go ahead and do so. What a game in Winnipeg last night. It ended up 42-20 in favor of the Blue Bombers. Here's Dan Matheson with the highlights.
There was a sellout crowd in Winnipeg, and they loved this play. Rob Podanovic breaks through to block the Tom Dixon punt, second quarter. Dixon quick enough to get the ball back, but it cost Edmonton 2 points. But the Bombers didn't need the nickel and dime scores, as they spent most of the night putting the ball in the end zone. John Hufnagel to a wide-open Jeff Boyd, a 45-yard touchdown. The Eskimos regroup after the half. Matt Dunnigan delivers to Tom Richards a 13-yard score. That cuts the lead to 4 points. But then the Bombers started to pull away. Hufnagel finds Perry Tuttle in the seam up the middle. Watch the block here delivered by Jeff Boyd. That helps. A quick strike, 60-yard major, 23-12. Damon Allen replaces Matt Dunnigan for the Eskimos, and he finds the end zone with a 36-yard strike to Brian Kelly, but Winnipeg will not be denied. Lester Brown rushes for 135 yards and a touchdown, too. The Bombers roll up a 42-20 score.
Well, that's the way it ended in Winnipeg last night, and there's what happened statistically. Not much going offensively in the first half for either of these clubs, but we're ready now for second half action as Osbaldiston kicks it down to the Toronto 35-yard line. Bob Bronk has it for the Argos and gets to about the 46-yard line, which is where Toronto will put it into play. And we'll look and see who comes out to play the quarterback spot. It will be J.C. Watts. And that really doesn't come as much of a surprise, because really Condredge Holloway did not have a great first half. For that matter, neither did Mike Kerrigan. However, statistically, Holloway was only 6 of 16 for 60 yards, and he had 1 interception.
J.C. Watts, 56% on the season, 4 interceptions and only a couple of touchdown passes. We'll see if he can generate something here.
His first pass is complete to Darrell Smith, and Smith is inside Hamilton territory at the 49-yard line. Howard Fields, number 16, brings him down at that spot. But his first pass, J.C. Watts' first pass, is good for 15 yards.
Yeah, and he looked good throwing it. A quick drop, and he steps up in the pocket and hits a good strike. Darrell Smith able to get inside number 20, Mark Streeter. And that's the way you want to start off the second half if you're a new quarterback coming in.
This is William Miller, the running back, gets to about the 46-yard line, and he'll have a pickup of about 3 yards before running into Frank Robinson. It's a 10-2 ball game. Hamilton leads it. The Argos have received this second half kickoff, and they find themselves with a 2nd and 7 situation from outside the Hamilton 45. Watts pass right through the hands of Darrell Smith. There's one that he should have had.
Oh, yeah, that's tough. You know, when you're struggling trying to get some offense moving, and you're trailing by 8 points, and your quarterback, both quarterbacks have had difficulty in their time to throw department. You throw a strike, boy, you got to make that catch, and Darryl Smith should have had it.
The lights are on here at Ivor Wynne Stadium. A cloudy, overcast day, and of course, now with standard time, it's getting dark in Hamilton. Wayne Lee and Howard Fields back to return this punt from Hank Olisic, who sails it into the end zone, and it'll go out of bounds again for another single point. And though it's only the Argos' third, it moves them to within the converted touchdown of Hamilton.
Well, Pat, I really don't understand why Hank's not trying to kick that ball out of bounds and pin Hamilton deep in their own territory. You know, it is a close ball game, and maybe they consider that they need those single points, but it lets Hamilton come out to the 35-yard line, and boy, I'd be inclined to try and kick it out of bounds.
So now the Ticats make a change at quarterback as well. Ken Hobart comes in, the quarterback to Tabbies in relief of Mike Kerrigan. And Hobart's first pass to a wide-open Rocky DiPietro. Darryl Moyer makes the saving tackle, but not before DiPietro gets inside the Toronto 30-yard line. 48 yards, pass and run, Ken Hobart to Rocky DiPietro.
Well, that's the way you like to start the game as well if you come in as a backup quarterback. And DiPietro on the corner pattern, and it looked as though Kerry Parker, the corner, should have been back in zone coverage. He didn't get there, and that's a big play, 48 yards.
From the 27 and a half, the pass goes to Zachary, who's inside the 25 to the 24, but David Marshall was there, the middle linebacker, along with Gary Moten, 72, to bring him down.
No, I talked to Ken Hobart before the game when he was warming up, and I said, you know, you lost your starting job this year to Mike Kerrigan. Has it been really difficult mentally for you? And he said it was at the beginning, but he's sort of become used to it. Now he just said, all I can do is wait for my opportunity to play and then make the best of it.
2nd and 7. Hamilton at the Toronto 24. Hobart fires. The pass was intended for Steve Stapler, and we have a pass interference call against Carl Braisley. Well, the Argos are incensed about it, but in my initial impression, he got to the ball carrier before the ball did.
Forward pass interference, Toronto number 2, first down.
Well, you know, Carl Braisley reads that play so quickly that he gets up right on top, and you're going to have a good look right here. There's the ball. Well, I think it was a pretty good call, too. He got there just a fraction before the ball did, and that's a tough call to make.
So it's first down. Hamilton, the ball is at the Toronto 18-yard line. And Hobart does not get back to the line of scrimmage. He is a tremendous runner, as we all recognize from his performance last year. But this time, Marlon Jones and David Marshall are there to make sure that he does not get back to the line of scrimmage, and that'll go as a quarterback sack for the Argos.
You know, at the beginning of the year, they told Ken Hobart, we want you to become more of a passer. Well, now Al Bruno's told him, we want you to go back to being a runner again. He's averaging 7.4 yards a carry, and don't be surprised to see him take off here.
Well, he tried to take off, but I'll tell you that Toronto front four is playing well right now. Rodney Harding and Gerald Bayless were there to bring him down. And now a penalty marker comes down. We're going to have roughing here.
You know, it all started on the last play with number 58, Jason Riley, took a shot at somebody. These guys got long memories, and it's going to be against Hamilton, or is it against both? Both sides.
Well, Gary Moten and Rodney Harding of the Argos have taken their helmets off. I don't know why you'd want to do that if a fight is going to break out.
No, not the smartest thing to do.
Penalty is going to be against the Argos. Only a 5-yard difference. Let's hear the call.
Objectionable conduct, Hamilton number 66, major foul, unnecessary roughness, Toronto 72. Third down.
So the difference in the penalties is 5 yards. Unnecessary roughness is 15 yards. Objectionable conduct is 10. But it really doesn't alter the situation. It just moves the field goal a little closer for Paul Osbaldiston, who will now kick it from the 21-yard line. And it is good. So with 10 minutes and 30 seconds left to play in this third quarter, the Hamilton Ticats increase their lead to 10 points. It's Hamilton 13, Toronto. There's Ken Hobart in the ball game in place of Mike Kerrigan at the quarterback spot, discussing things with Tom Porras, the third-string quarterback.
He really is a good guy, you know, and you kind of feel sorry for him, who had so much success last year taking the Ticats to the Grey Cup. He's lost his starting job to Kerrigan, but, you know, he's got a chance really to prove himself here in the second half.
Well, you need two quarterbacks to be sure in any event, as Osbaldiston kicks this one to Smith at his 26-yard line. Darrell Smith struggles out to the 42. And a couple of the Argos got tangled up, and now, see, this game is going to, first of all, there is no blood lost between these two teams to begin with.
Well, that was Miles Gurrell and Gary Moten. They got into it on the kickoff return with Darrell Smith, but
you know what?
There's going to be a scrap before this one's over, and it's typical.
Al Bruno just doesn't get the credit or the recognition that he's entitled to, and every player that I've ever talked to loved performing for him.
Oh, he's a real player's coach.
From the 42-yard line, J.C. Watts and the Toronto Argonauts start. Watts trying to set up the screen pass. I don't know where the back was. Ticats would like to see that call for intentional grounding, but it was definitely a screen setup, but the back must have got tripped up somewhere along the line.
Well, it's funny. William Miller and Bob Bronk both went to the right side, and J.C. Watts was trying to set up a screen to the left, so it might have been to the slot back, Darrell Smith.
Whatever, it brings up a 2nd and 10.
Yeah, this isn't a good spot for J.C. Watts to be in.
Now the screen is set up to William Miller, but there is nothing but Tiger Cats surrounding him.
Oh, Mitchell Price, number 65, just made an outstanding play. He saw William Miller sliding up for the screen. He read it perfectly, quickly moved out and forced him back to the inside where he knew he'd get some help from the rest of his teammates. Boy, you just cannot make a living against this Ticat defense in 2nd and long.
And, you know, some people could be sitting at home saying, well, boy, this isn't much of an offensive performance. But here in Tigertown, this is their kind of football.
Oh, no, they love this. They got big Angie Mosco over here watching today, and this would be his kind of a game.
Oh, Olesic puts this one into orbit. Wayne Lee is all the way back to his 2-yard line. Lee, with a good return, however, gets to the 24-yard line. So that Ticats will put it into play when we come back. Hamilton leads Toronto 13-3. What this game is all about, watch Tabby the Tiger. He'll show you. He's really doing a number on that Argonaut dummy, and so are the Ticats on the real Argonauts. Oh, no, the fans are having a big time here this afternoon. This is the hated rivalry that's been going on for decades. Toronto, of course, just a few miles down the road. And the Ticat fans delighted because their Tabbies are out in front by 10. And going deep, looking for Tony Champion. He makes the catch at the Toronto 35-yard line. It seemed to me as though he had stepped out of bounds and then come back in. But nevertheless, there is no penalty marker. And Tony Champion is inside the Toronto 35 after a pickup of 52 yards.
Well, he's been the big play man for the Ticats. He has that 69-yard touchdown. And look, you see Kerry Parker, 17, stumble in coverage, and you can't stumble with a speedster like Tony Champion. That was a good throw by Kenny Hobart, too.
So very quickly, Hobart has come into this ball game and picked up two big gainers. One to Rocky DiPietro, this time to Tony Champion. And again, the Ticats are within striking distance. This is Zachary. Touchdown, Hamilton. The blocking was there, and the running ability and the skills of Ken Zachary go 34 yards for the touchdown that may well break this one wide open.
Well, how about Ken Hobart since he's come into the game. 48-yard pass to Rocky DiPietro, 52 to Tony Champion, and now this 35-yard run on a simple handoff to Ken Zachary. The Ticats had their second major. 2 plays, 86 yards. Not bad.
Marv Alamang, Dale Sanderson, and John Malinowski opening that big hole on the right side that enabled Ken Zachary to go 34 yards. The point after is good, and with 8:09 left in the third quarter, Hamilton has jumped out in front of Toronto 20-3. Ken Zachary has had 8 carries today for 63 yards, but the one that people will go home talking about is the last one that went 34 yards for the touchdown. It only took them 2 plays to go a total of 86 yards. That's Paul Osbaldiston. He's ready with the kickoff, and he drills it deep. This is Darrell Smith. And Smith found a bit of a seam and got out to the 45-yard line.
Well, Ken Zachary at 6 foot even and 225 pounds is a great size for a running back, and boy, did he ever blast through that hole.
Well, now, Lee, I know that you're not a head football coach, but as a guy who played in this league for 8 years, when you look at the Toronto offense, what is wrong with it?
Well, I think the quarterbacks and everybody have just lost their confidence, and with that defensive front of the Ticats, you know, it can make you do that in a hurry. These guys put so much pressure, and now that they trail by 17 points, boy, it's going to be tough.
Watt's pass was very nearly picked off by Lance Shields, but they rule that it hit the ground.
So you know what happens now in a game like this? You get Holloway was in the first half. Now it's JC. Well, it really doesn't matter because that time he had time to throw the football, but you get jumpy, you get edgy, and he had an open receiver, but the pass wasn't even near him. So, you know, that pass rush, whether you get there or not, you put something in the minds of everybody.
It's 2nd and 10. Toronto, the ball at their 46-yard line, trailing 20-3. Watts with time fires, and he had a man wide open right down the seam. Darrell Smith was there, but the ball was overthrown.
You see, old JC could see number 65, Big Mitchell Price, coming in his face too, and you know that makes you want to just get rid of that ball that split second earlier, because those guys don't like taking that punishment play after play. Hank's getting a workout.
He's going to have quite an average too, because he's been really drilling them. Howard Fields is back to join Wayne Lee to return this punt. This is an end-over-end ball that goes out of bounds at about the 22.5. The Ticats came after that one, and Olysek had to get it away a little sooner than he would have liked, I suspect, but he still got a 41-yard boot.
That's what he should have done on the last one.
Oh, did you see the World Series game last night?
I fell asleep.
I mean, 2 out. They're a strike away from winning the World Series, and the Boston Red Sox still have to go to Game 7 because the New York Mets stormed back for 3 runs in the bottom of the 10th inning to win last night. Game 7 tonight here on CTV, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Bob Obilovich will probably even be watching it, but he may not be in the same frame of mood as Al Bruno. Well, again, there was a late hit there, and it'll be called Marlon Jones. And it should be called, too, because there was no doubt that Hobart was down after getting the first down. Now Tabby the Tiger is dragging the Argo stiff down the sidelines.
Well, this is what Ken Hobart really does best. You know, he told me, he says, I'd like to have my completion percentage better. I know it's only 46%, but, you know, I'm a runner.
Toronto number 90, first down.
He said, I'm a runner, and that's what I do best. And, boy, right there, he picks up a first down, another 15 with the roughing.
And you know what? Ken Hobart has come in and done a pretty good job throwing the football. 3 for 3 and 103 yards. As Hamilton now is at their own 49. Make it 4 for 4 because the pass was complete. Kerry Parker was on top of Tony Champion the moment that he hit the turf.
Boy, there's a lot of talking going out on that field right now. It's a typical Argo Ticat game. You know, they don't like each other. It's as simple as that. Kerry Parker, when he hit Tony Champion there, he wanted to rip him in half with that tackle. He's mad. He's been beaten on that long one.
The gain was 6 yards at 2nd and 4. Hamilton with the ball right at midfield. 20-3. Hamilton out in front with 5:45 left. But there's a play that they'll throw away. And Hobart going over to have a chat with his offensive center. As Paul Osbaldiston comes into the ball game, and you take a look at Carl Braisley and Chris Woods. There is a lot of time left in this game, but the Argos have not given any indication that they can get it together offensively. Great punt by Osbaldiston. Woods at his 13. And the coverage by the Ticats was outstanding. J.C. Watts with his head coach, Bob Obilovich, and Conrad Holloway with the final last-minute instructions.
Pat, you know, you asked me what can Toronto do. Well, J.C. Watts, number 6, you know, he's a great runner himself. I think he's got to just try and get a rollout action going. And if he's got to run with the football, if that's what it's going to take to get them moving down the field, boy, he better do it.
Well, I mean, there's so much time left in the game. 5:08 left to play in the third quarter. I think you stick with your game plan because you obviously felt that was how you could win, except Hamilton has stuffed it down your throat. Penalty marker is down. The pass is complete to Darrell Smith, but he steps out of bounds at the 23, and this one may come back. We may have a time count violation. Let's wait and see. No, it's a procedure penalty against the Argos, so it'll come back anyway. And it'll be a 5-yard penalty to make it 1st and 15, back at about the 9-yard line.
Well, that's a tough break. You know, you're deep in your own territory. You want to try and move it out of there. You get a first down, and now it comes back.
Illegal procedure. Toronto number 64. First down repeated.
That's Chris Schultz, the left offensive tackle who was with the Dallas Cowboys for the last couple of seasons. Boy, he is massive. He goes at 6'8", 275 pounds. Watts is going deep, looking for Chris Woods. The pass was very nearly picked off by Lance Shields. The Argos would like to see a penalty marker come down, but none is on the field.
Lance Shields in his first year with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He's from Drake University. Spent some time in the United States Football League and came here on a 21-day trial last year. But once again, the pressure on J.C. Watts as he steps up into the pocket, and the hit by Mike Walker just after the ball is thrown, and Lance Shields had a great chance to make this interception. Couldn't hang on to the football low.
He has 8 interceptions already this year as the Argos line up for a 2nd and 15 from their 9-yard line. Penalty marker is down, and so is J.C. as the ball comes loose. It was ripped out of his arms. They will rule that J.C. Watts was down at the 7-yard line. A penalty marker had been thrown prior to the hit on J.C., so Toronto may be assessed a holding penalty.
Holding. Toronto number 61 declined. They're down.
That's Willie Thomas, the offensive center, called for holding. The Ticats, of course, declined the penalty because they're going to have the ball in Toronto territory, they expect, because Hank Olisic will be punting out of his end zone.
Well, there you saw Willie Thomas to the right of your screen, and once again, it's that Ticat pressure that makes a difference.
Big Ben, he's had a great year. Be very surprised if he isn't a Shenley nominee. What a big punt again by Olisic. Wayne Lee finally crosses midfield and gets to the Toronto 53-yard line. But Olisic has been by far the dominant player for the Argos today. Well, we'll be in Ottawa next week, and that's a very important game for the Edmonton Eskimos, who find themselves now with a precarious 2-point lead in that Western Conference after losing last night to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Yeah, I think they could clinch first place next week with a win in Ottawa, couldn't they?
Yep. And you got to know that Jackie Parker, his staff, and those great athletes will have the old chin straps done up for that one. Hobart in a lot of trouble. The screen pass is picked off by Marlon Jones. Oh, what a big turnaround for the Argonauts. Marlon Jones, recruited by Leo Cahill in the offseason, a guy that he figured could really come in here and do a job, was injured much of the year, but comes up with a big play for Toronto. He returns the screen pass intercept for 36 yards, and Toronto has possession at the Hamilton 22.
Well, he read it perfectly. He saw Jed Tommy sneaking out of the backfield and stayed right with him, and what a big play that was. You know, they had one earlier with Carl Brazeley's interception. Now the interception by Marlon Jones. This is critical for them. They've got to take advantage.
If they don't get the touchdown here, you can forget it. Watts again trying to set up the screen pass to William Miller. But it wasn't the greatest looking play.
You know, when you're running a screen, you've got to invite those defensive linemen upfield. You want to give them a pretty solid block, not to let them through so easily that they recognize it. But the Argonaut line's got to let them come through and then set up that screen. It's just been haphazard the last few ones.
From the shotgun this time, Watts had to reach for the ball. And he fires complete to Darryl Smith. He has the first down before being forced out at about the 8-yard line. Lance Shields pushes him out, but not before a 14-yard pickup. And for Darryl Smith, that's his third catch of the afternoon and his 29th on the season.
Well, Howard Fields, number 16, the veteran 6 years from Baylor, had a chance to stop him short of the first down. He wasn't able to do so, and now the Argonauts are in a glorious position to get their first touchdown of the game.
Ball is at the 9-yard line. 20-3. Hamilton leads it with 2:15 left in the third quarter. J.C. Watts on the quarterback draw. Touchdown. Well, let me just remind everybody that Toronto won the two previous games. One by 1 point, 21-20. The other by 2 points, 25-23. This one could come right down to the wire again.
Well, that was a great call by J.C. Watts. He spread out the entire defense, and all you need is one little block from your center, which Willie Thomas provided for him, and he gets their first touchdown.
Lance Chomick with the point after. It's good, and since he may not get an opportunity to kick a field goal today, Lance asked me before the ball game if I would wish his mother a happy birthday out in Edmonton, the very next field goal he gets, because that would establish a Toronto Argonaut field goal record for a season. In case he doesn't get a chance to kick one, happy birthday, Mrs. Chomick, from Lance.
Well, you know, we talked about the quarterback draw. All it needs is one quick block. Willie Thomas got it, and pretty easy march into the end zone for J.C. Watts. But they did the big thing. They got the interception by Marlon Jones, and they converted that into 7 points.
And Leif, you and Pat were talking earlier about the intensity and the extracurricular activity on the field. There's been a very interesting contrast in styles in the sidelines. Al Bruno, who can really blow up a storm himself, just lets it all swirl around him, while on the other side, Coach Albelovich has been trying to get his players to calm down. He's telling his coaches, get these guys down. They're rattled. We have to get our confidence back and get more businesslike. And apparently it's working.
Well, you know, that is a difference in philosophy. Al Bruno likes those guys just to go wild and get crazy out there.
Chomick's kickoff will come to Zachary at the 18-yard line. And Zachary gets over the 35 to about the 37. So the Argos kick cover team has done a good job in keeping them inside the 40. And now let's see if the momentum that Marlon Jones gave the Argos by that big play for him, where he intercepted the screen pass, can continue. There's Al Bruno.
He's a player's coach. You know, he'll let them do their own thing as much as they can until they do something too crazy for him to stand, but he's a pretty easygoing guy.
Hobart keeps it himself, crosses the 40 to the 43 before David Marshall, the middle linebacker, number 73, and Gerald Bayless, 99, the defensive tackle, are there to bring him down.
Well, the one big difference between Ken Hobart and some others around the league is that he's over 6 foot. He's 205 pounds, and you won't see him doing too many hook slides. He likes to try and split the tacklers and take them head on.
The pickup is 7 yards, so it's 2nd and 3, Ticats. Pass is complete to DiPietro. And Rocky fights his way right to midfield. Carl Brazeley, number 2, and Darrell Wilson, 13, combine on the tackle.
It's a great call on 2nd down. He's your veteran receiver. He's the guy you want to handle the football. All they call this is a quick flat pass. You get it to him as fast as possible. Right now he's got the 1st down, so anything after that is gravy. He made a nice move on Darrell Wilson.
77 receptions on the season for Rocky DiPietro. Picks up 12 yards on that one. Hamilton has a 1st down at midfield. And on the draw, Zachary gets to the Toronto 51-yard line for a pickup of 4, where again David Marshall, the middle linebacker, the graduate of Eastern Michigan University, makes the tackle. Zachary had a big 34-yard touchdown run earlier in this 3rd quarter to give Hamilton a 20-3 lead at that point. But the Argos have fought back, and now they find themselves with a big play. On 2nd and 7, if they can close down the Ticats here, the Argos will get the ball back to start the 4th quarter. And Hobart is sacked back at his own 50-yard line by Mark Seal, number 76. And that is the final play of the 3rd quarter. Hamilton 20, Toronto 10. We'll with the 4th quarter in a moment. Paul Osbaldiston's punt is grabbed at the 25-yard line by Carl Brazeley, who gets to the 28, and that's where the Argos will put it into play as we begin the 4th quarter. 20-13 Hamilton, 20-10 Hamilton leads as Paul Osbaldiston is forced to call the training staff out. Ray Jones is there. Let's watch and see what happened.
Well, they ran into him here. Now the officials said that they were blocked into Osbaldiston because they didn't touch the football, but number 35 Dan Rasevich hit him. Obviously they didn't feel like it was done intentionally. They didn't call it. Cliff Hewitt was also there, but well, what do you do if he can't kick? They've had trouble this year.
Dan Matheson, what's the weather like down there?
Well, it's definitely getting colder, Pat, but now the rain's starting to come out. This field's going to get a little more slick.
And some strange things can happen with a wet football as Toronto begins. Watch fires complete to William Miller, and he slips down as he gets to the 33, so he'll pick up 5. Frank Robinson, number 43, was there to make sure he didn't get up and go any further. JC had plenty of time that time to deliver the ball.
Pretty good blocking from his offensive line, and of course this is what they're going to have if they want to get back in this game. They trail by 10, and you know, dump it off to William Miller. Let him run with it.
Quickly to Darrell Smith for the 1st down. Ball was well thrown. Darrell Smith squeezed it, and Mark Streeter, number 20, made the tackle for Hamilton. There's what has happened statistically. You can see the dominance of the Ticats, 318 to 112, but this game is certainly up for grabs. A touchdown for Toronto here, and look out. The winner gets 1st place, temporarily at least. Watts never saw the backside Frank Robinson coming in. And as a result, he's dropped back at his 33-yard line.
And that's his 2nd sack of the ball game. And once again, it's the pressure from that front 7, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. J.C. Watts, no chance to get this ball off. And well, you see the blocking just not there for him. No way he can throw the football when you got guys on your back like that.
The loss is 9 yards. It's the 5th sack of the afternoon for the Hamilton Ticats, which, as we suggested off the top, should not be a surprise because they had 68 sacks coming in here. Watts has the first down. As he crosses midfield, he runs into Paul Bennett, but not before picking up a total of 23 yards. And the Toronto drive will continue in Hamilton territory now.
Wow, what a great move by JC. You know, it's going to be tough to complete a 20-yard pass for a first down. He saw the middle open up and took off and gets an extra 3 yards, but what a super run that was.
From the Hamilton 54, it's Toronto first down on the draw. William Miller. Leo Ezrins was blitzing on the play, and as a result, Miller ran right into him at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, so was Ben Zambiazzi. You know, Ben's been around for 9 years, and he's seen every kind of formation and every play. As soon as he saw that draw developing, boy, he was in that backfield so fast.
So make it 2nd and 10. With 11:35 left to play in the fourth quarter, with Hamilton out in front by 10 points. This time from the shotgun formation, J.C. Watts will look to put it up. And he does to Darrell Smith. Now let's see where they place the ball. He'll be at least a yard short of the first down. Had the ball been out in front of him, he would have had the first down, but he had to turn into it. And as a result, when he was hit, he came up a yard short.
Well, Darrell Smith has been the brightest performer offensively for the Argonauts this afternoon. That's a nice diving catch that he made that's going to allow them to attempt a third down gamble here.
3rd and a full yard. They give us to William Miller. He hurdles the line, and he very nearly broke it right up the middle, because when he did jump, had he come down with both feet on the turf as opposed to 1 foot on somebody's back, he might have been gone.
Well, he made a great cut. You know, he only got 3 yards, and it's not going to show up great in the statistics, but he saw Ben Zambiazzi in the hole, and watch the cut right there and jump over the pile. You see Ben flying through the hole. He was trying to meet him in the air, but William Miller just did a great job.
The ball is just nudging the Hamilton 40-yard line. This has been an impressive drive by the Argos, their best of the day. Again from the shotgun, J.C. throws to Bob Bronk. And Bronk could not get to the outside. It was number 20, Mark Streeter. Mark only goes 190 pounds, and Bob Bronk outweighs him by about 40, but Streeter was able to make the tackle.
Well, the Argonauts must have felt after watching the films all week that they could run the screen successfully against Hamilton. Really have had little or no success with that play that they've used at least a half a dozen times today.
They pick up about 3, so make it 2nd and 7. Oh, what a diving catch by Darrell Smith. And it will be ruled a good catch at the 27-yard line.
Oh, yeah, he made a super catch. You know, in 1983 at Central State, he led the NCAA nation in touchdown receptions with 18. So, you know, he can get the job done. And watch this nice soft hands as he dives here and makes a super catch. And, you know, at this stage of the game, you've got to keep those drives going.
But he's holding on to his knee, which is bad news. 9:35 left to play in the fourth quarter. Hamilton 20, Toronto 10. We'll be back in just a moment. The first game of the Eastern Final will be played Sunday, November the 16th, probably in the home of the loser of today's ball game. We'll be there to bring that to you, and then our Western crew will be on hand for the game that will decide the Western Championship on Sunday, November the 23rd. And then, of course, we'll have all the Grey Cup festivities for you from Vancouver, including a replay of last year's Grey Cup game. We'll show you the Grey Cup parade and all the festivities that are going on in Vancouver in what should be one of the great Grey Cups of all time. Darrell Smith is walking now, which is good news for the Argos, because he was holding on to his knee earlier. J.C. Watts tripped down. You may recall Dan Matheson mentioned that it had started to rain here in Hamilton, and obviously the field has slicked up a little bit because J.C. now comes up limping himself.
And Pat, a footnote on the footing. Paul Bennett, who has played a lot of games on this turf, tells me that this carpet, like a lot of others, has a grain to it, and it's got very good footing when you go with the grain. But as soon as you go sideways, it gets very slick indeed. And it looked like J.C. had great footing until he made his cut. His foot just went right out from under him.
And as a result, the Argos come up with a 2nd and 19. Well, what a job J.C. did. I mean, he knew he was going to get mugged and almost did, but he had sense enough to get rid of the ball in the area of William Miller, and so he saves what would have been a loss of about 40 yards.
Yeah, I don't even think he saw William Miller. He just said, grounding's got to be better than what I'm going to do back here. And mugged is the best expression I've heard today, because it really kind of typifies what this Hamilton defense is all about. They'd love to mug you.
So the field goal try by Lance Chomick with a happy birthday note to his mom out in Edmonton comes from the 43-yard line. And it hits the upright. Chomick has had just a sensational year for the Argos, but he had no luck on that one as it hits the upright, and the score remains Hamilton 20, Toronto 10. We'll be back in just a moment. Steve Delcole trying to comfort Lance Chomick, who missed on what was a difficult field goal attempt anyway, kicking it into the wind, and it hit the upright. So the score remains 20-10. Make sure you stay with us after the game. Dan Matheson will be interviewing the stars of the game, the ushers, the hot dog sellers, everybody else, because he'll have lots of time. This game really running along at a quick pace. This is Zachary, and Zachary's out over the 25 to the 28-yard line for a pickup of about 3. David Marshall, the middle linebacker, there to make the stop again. He's been active today. And time now becoming a concern for Toronto and an ally of the Ticats. 7.5 minutes left. Hobart's pass was knocked down. Gary Moulton, 72, got his hands on it.
Well, the Argonauts are having to come with the blitz now to try and create some kind of a turnover or extra pressure on Ken Hobart, and that time the blitz was successful. The ball was knocked down. And Kenny Hobart on the little sprint. And it was number 72, Gary Moulton, got the one hand up there and knocked it down.
Osbaldiston's punt is handled by Carl Braisley, who gets it into Hamilton territory at the 54-yard line. They spot the ball right at midfield with 7:02 left to play. Only a 33-yard punt by Osbaldiston. So the Argos are right back in business, and Al Bruno knows it. He knows that his club has played well enough to win here this afternoon, but it's certainly not guaranteed yet. The pass is good, with Ben Zambiazzi there to make the stop on Ken Joyner.
Boy, Kenny Joyner just got a great block from number 34, Bob Brock, and he's the first guy that has to get out there and pick off the corner. He got Les Brown, and that enabled Kenny Joyner to get inside. He had a super week last week against Ottawa. 8 catches, a couple of touchdowns. Boy, they need a touchdown here.
Well, like much of the Toronto receiving corps, Joyner has been in and out of the lineup all season long. He only had 35 catches coming in. It's second down, 2 yards to go as J.C. looks, fires complete to Chris Woods inside the 35 to the 33-yard line.
Of course, that's the area of the field that they thought they might be able to complete some balls at. With posts or in patterns to their wide receivers, they feel that Paul Bennett does not have the range in there that he once had. And this time, Chris Woods, a little post pattern on Lance Shields. And, boy, every time now on second down, it's just becoming more and more crucial. That time they came through with a conversion.
Ball is at the Ticat 33-yard line. First down, Toronto. And again, they set up that screen to William Miller. And Miller is upended as he gets to the 25-yard line by Frank Robinson. Had he been able to get by Robinson, he might well have gotten to the end zone.
Boy, they love that screen pass today, and that time it was so close to clicking. William Miller was still some great acceleration. Watch those first couple of steps when he hits the ground. They're really quick ones, and had it not been for Frank Robinson, he might have gone a lot further.
JC has completed his last 9 passes in a row. He's now 11 for 17 since coming in to replace Conrad Holloway. So it's 2nd down and 2, Toronto. JC fumbled the pass from center, and Hamilton recovers. This is going to be a great final, though, these two clubs, because they're so even. The ball came up. JC just didn't put the hands on it properly, and Hamilton's Mike Walker recovers 20-10. Ticats lead it. We'll be back in a moment. 4:51 left. There is Mike Walker, the man who recovered the J.C. Watts fumble, and he recovers just inside the Hamilton 25. You can see the turnover story there. But these clubs, I'm sure you will agree, are very evenly matched. That 2-game Eastern Point final is going to be just something else. Hobart looks, fires, completes it. Tony Champion made the reception with Carl Braisley providing the defensive coverage, but it is a Hamilton 1st down up around the 39-yard line.
Well, you know, for a guy that they malign his passing, you couldn't throw a better ball than he threw right there to Tony Champion. Excellent coverage by Carl Braisley, but that was just a strike to Tony Champion. You know, I've always hated these dugouts here. Tony Champion slides along the ground. He drops down about 4 feet.
The give is to Zachary, but the Argos had that one smelled out, and he didn't gain an inch. And now Zachary took exception to Gerald Bayless, number 99. And at this point, I haven't seen a penalty marker come down.
No, I don't think you will. You know, these linemen are really wild today. Gerald Bayless and the Hamilton front four, they're all yelling and talking to each other out there. I like this kind of football.
Well, as I say, they've played 2 games previously, and the total scores, the difference was only 3 points in 2 games, so you can't get much closer. Hobart's 2nd down pass is complete to Rocky DiPietro, but he'll be short of the 1st down. Paul Tripoli was there to nail him a yard short.
Well, that's not like Rocky not to go down and get the necessary yardage, because he had to get 11 and he only goes down about 9 yards. We're going to have a good look at him here, and he should know where the 1st down marker is. Just cut that pattern off a little short.
Now they've called for the yardsticks. They had to go all the way across the field, but he appears to be a solid yard short of the 1st down. Well, as a matter of fact, yeah, it's about a yard.
You know, it becomes a mental thing, because when I went up to the line of scrimmage when I was playing, I'd say to myself, now I got to make sure I get over the 50, or I got to get over the 45. So I knew exactly how far I had to go and give myself a couple of extra yards of leeway.
Well, with 3 minutes and 25 seconds showing on the clock, and the Ticats leading by 10 points, and 3rd and about a yard, they're going to go for it. Hobart keeps it himself. Ooh, and it was his 2nd effort that got it for him, because Paul Tripoli would have had him back at the line of scrimmage, but he wasn't able to hang on. 3 minutes and 3 seconds left to play in the ball game. Hamilton 20, Toronto 10. We'll be back for the final 3:03 in a moment. Well, Bruno is happy. He should be. His club has played well. They lead Toronto by 10 points with just 3:03 left. But he knows it's going to be a dogfight, too.
Oh, yeah. It's good old typical game at Hamilton. Big brawl going on in the stands. This is perfect.
I've never been a weather forecaster, but I'll tell you this, my friend. Winter is coming. It's getting chilly now. We've had punch-ups on the field, punch-ups in the stands. You know you're in Hamilton. The give is to Zachary. And he doesn't get much, but what he'll do is he'll get the clock rolling. We've got 2:44. It stopped temporarily, but the Ticats will take their full 20 seconds every time. And the Argos, barring some kind of a minor miracle, are not going to win this football game.
Well, you know, I kind of feel happy for Kenny Hobart. He's come in here in the second half, and he had a couple of big passes, one to DiPietro, one to Tony Champion. And, you know, for a guy who's been on the back burner all year, it's kind of nice to see him come through.
Yeah, he has completed 7 of 9 for 145 yards so far. And he steps up there nicely, looking for Steve Stapler, but it's over his head.
He could have run for about 30 yards there when he stepped up and got through that wave of pass rush.
And, of course, the incompletion stops the clock as well, which is a benefit to the Argos with 2:19 showing. Paul Osbaldiston comes in. And he'll be punting on 3rd and 8. Pretty good punt. Chris Woods takes it at his 12. He tossed the football up, but the Argos were there to recover it. Rocky DiPietro made the tackle, and there to recover was Kerry Parker. CTV continues its 25-year figure skating tradition with exclusive coverage of Skate Canada 86 from Regina, Saskatchewan on Friday, October the 31st and November the 1st and 2nd. This year's Skate Canada features approximately 40 skaters from 13 countries, including Czechoslovakia, France, Japan, Germany, the USA, Canada. Watch for it here on CTV. J.C. Watt's pass. Very nearly picked off. He was looking for Paul Pearson, and Howard Fields very nearly grabbed it at the 30-yard line.
JC was trying to just drop it into the hole, into the vacated area of the zone, and then Howard Fields came out of nowhere, and what a super diving play he makes to break it up. I thought he was going to make that catch. Helpless feeling for Paul Pearson. You know the ball's underthrown. You can't put the brakes on. The field's so wet.
11 of 18, J.C. Watt, since coming in to replace Condredge Holloway. This time he finds Chris Woods wide open, but Chris Woods doesn't catch the football.